Okay, so we continue now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins with family. So this is going to talk about family, and this is going to talk about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, but it starts with family, and this is a very important thing. So it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, Allah chose Adam, Noah, Nuh alayhi salam, and the family of Abraham and the family of Imran above all people of their time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that there are certain people, certain patriarchs, certain people who have started or kick-started humanity and through their righteousness. So Sayyidina Adam is our patriarch. He's the one we go back to. He's our great-great-grandfather. Sayyidina Nuh is our great-grandfather. What did he do? He prioritized what Allah wanted us to do. Everybody laughed at him. He was looked at as an idiot. So key thing, if people don't laugh at you and think you're an idiot, you're probably an idiot. If people don't laugh at you and think that you're an idiot, you're probably an idiot. Right? Didn't they laugh at Sayyidina Musa? Didn't they laugh at Sayyidina Nuh? Didn't they laugh at the Prophet ﷺ? Right? So if everybody accepts you, you're probably a very bad person. But if most people hate you, you're probably a good person. Because that is the sunnah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in the world. That when you do what is right, people will hate you. That's the normal way you do it. You become religious, everyone's like, look at this guy. Right? Look at this guy. That's the normal way it works. Right? And so a key concept. Everybody hated Sayyidina Nuh. Everybody hated Sayyidina Ibrahim. They tried to kill him. They tried to do this. They tried to do that. That's the normal way, right? I mentioned yesterday, if you're a ruler and you didn't get assassinated, you're probably a bad ruler, right? That's the normal way. Who is it? Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Do you know what he did? He stopped jihad. Why did you stop jihad? What's your problem? That's wrong. Why did you stop jihad? He stopped jihad. Everyone, this is crazy. This is a crazy thing. Why did you stop doing that? He's like, no, it's not being done right. Everyone's going to criticize you. Everyone's going to be, etc. And he's now known later on as one of the best rulers ever, right? So we always have to check, generally speaking, what most people are doing. I'm not talking about most ulama, but most people. What most people do is wrong, right? And so we need to, when we see that we're doing what everybody else is doing, we're probably doing something wrong. So, and the family of Imran, the family from which the family of Sayyidina Isa comes, they are descendants one of another. They're all connected. So, key concept: you are not saved because of your parents, but there is such thing as barakah. There is such thing as barakah, such thing as lineage. So, if you are go right and your children go right and your children's children go right, there's a barakah in that, right? And so for example, the Shia, they have this way of looking at Ahl Bayt. We revere Ahl Bayt because that's the family of the Prophet ﷺ. But also historically, many, if not most, amazing people in the Ummah have been from Ahl Bayt. And so there is a barakah in Ahl Bayt. That doesn't make you safe from the hellfire, it doesn't make you this, it doesn't make you that, right? But there is a huge barakah in Ahl Bayt, right? And so being a descendant of a believer is very important. So many people, for example, they say converts are better than people who are born in Islam. Why is that wrong? There's a term in statistics, I can't remember what it is, but basically there's certain things that are statistically true and certain things that are noticed to be statistically true. So what you notice is not the same as reality. So you go to a masjid and you say, oh, look, I'm not a convert, by the way. You go to a masjid and you see, oh my God, there's a convert who is the imam. Converts must be religious. What about all the converts that don't come to the masjid? You didn't notice them, did you? So therefore, you don't put them in your mind. So therefore, you think converts are more religious. Converts most likely leave the deen. That's why. So the convert who became Muslim and then left Islam, you didn't notice him, right? So there is a merit in having grandparents and great parents who are Muslims. And there is not a merit in having no grandparents who are Muslims. So people often think, oh, it's good to be a convert. That's not true, right? So who should lead the prayer? Somebody who is the son of somebody who's a son of somebody who's a son of a righteous person, right? If everybody is the same, they all know fiqh, right? They all know tajweed, etc., right? Another example of bad fiqh al-awlawiyat. Who should lead the prayer? Somebody who is a faqih or somebody who is a qari? Who? Wrong. The faqih. The faqih. Because, of course, because if all I know is the Fatiha and Qul Huwallahu Ahad, but I know when to do sujood sahw and not to do sujood sahw, and I know does my wudu count or does not wudu not count, then the prayer is valid. But if I know the whole of Baqarah and I don't know when to do sujood sahw, when not to do sujood sahw, right? Then what's the point of me leading the prayer? So we will find in our communities, we will emphasize, go to maktab, learn alif ba ta. You're young, do hifz. Hifz is useful if you're a little kid. But if you reach puberty and you don't know your fard ayn, it's haram. So we're investing in the haram, thinking that it's important. Because we don't know fiqh al-awliyat, right? And in any community, we'll say we need an imam. He has a beautiful voice. He gives an amazing khutbah, right? There's many people who give amazing khutbahs, right? They speak well, but that doesn't make them a faqih, right? And so one of the problems in our time is we don't know, right? We don't know who to follow because everybody sounds great, right? It's like three people wearing a suit and one of them is a doctor. In 3 seconds, you can find out who's the doctor, who's not the doctor. Yeah. But we don't know, right? And so this is a key thing, right? We always prioritize the wrong thing, right? So going back to the point is, there is a benefit, for example, in who should lead the prayer. And so there is a nobility in that. Somebody, his great-grandfather was at Badr. That person should be honored, right? Etc. So there is a barakah in these families. So we don't say these families are necessarily above everybody else, but being a descendant is important, right? They used to some of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to say things about Safiya. Safiya was Jewish, right? She was Jewish. So they said, "Oh, look, we have a Jewess here. Look, like we're all Arabs and she's Jewish. What's she doing here?" Right? And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Tell them, I am the wife of a prophet and I am the daughter of a prophet, meaning my great-grandfather is Harun." So can't say that, right? So there's an important being proud that you come from a noble lineage is a good thing, right? As opposed to, for example, somebody who doesn't even know who their dad is, right? They might be a righteous person, but they shouldn't actually lead the prayer, right? Somebody who doesn't know who their dad is, it's not that they're bad, but that's not a good thing. We shouldn't put that forward. We shouldn't promote that, right? So they are all descendants of one another, and Allah is all hearing and all knowing. And remember when the wife of Imran said, and so women are so insignificant and so bad that Allah never talks about women in the Quran. It's opposite. Allah is always talking about women in the Quran. Allah talks about Sayyidat Maryam in the Quran more than we read in the Bible. Allah talks about the complaint of a woman. A woman complaining to her husband, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I was there, I heard her complaining, I heard her having an argument with her husband, and she was right and he was wrong. And when she came to you, O Prophet, I was there and I heard him and she was right, and I'm defending her, right? And so there's many things in the Quran that's very feminist, very feminist. So many verses that come up and like, oh, women count, right? Last night, وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ, those men who remember Allah and those women who remember Allah, وَالْخَاشِئِينَ وَالْخَاشِعَاتِ. It's always been talking about women, right? So the idea that women don't count or women are not important, this is something that is, we see it, it's a Western thing in reality, right? So the feminism that we see in the West is a reaction to what used to be in the West, is that women really didn't count, right? You shouldn't talk to a woman. She doesn't know anything. She's just stupid, and she's just, she shouldn't even say anything. That's the world that they used to have in the West, and then they changed. So we're seeing their reaction now. We never had that problem. We always had the ulama who are female, right? We have a book over here, the muhaddithat, female hadith scholars, right? It's a whole book on it. That's a book of a summary of a 50-volume biography of female hadith scholars, 50 volumes, right, of female hadith scholars, right? So the idea that, we don't have ulama who are female, it's not true. Like, who said that? It's not even true. And so, the whole picture is off. So it either comes from the West or it comes from our own cultures. Many Muslims are misogynistic, right? The way that they think is like that, right? And so they themselves are imbalanced. It could be sometimes from their old culture. Sometimes it's like let's say Indo-Pak. comes from the Hindu thing, etc. And so this it's very bad. If you read, for example, Alf Layla wa Layla, you heard the story Alf Layla wa Layla, the story, the premise is very bad. The whole story is stories, right? It's a whole stories, but it starts off with women are really, really bad, and you should never trust them. That's how the story begins. And where is that coming from? That's not coming from the Arab world. It's coming from the Persian world, Iran, Afghanistan world. That women are really, really, really bad, but we should give them the break because they're not always bad, right? But it's when you read the translation in English, it was translated in English. You can't even read it. The Arabic is like the language in the beginning. Subhanallah, that's a word you never use. You wouldn't use words like that. Talking about women, it's very bad. So it starts off with women are really bad, right? But that's not an idea that's in the Quran. That's not an idea that's in Hadith. That's not an idea that's in the original Bible. That's not how it is, right? And so, key thing to understand. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is zooming in on a female, a righteous female, and saying, remember when the wife of Imran said, my Lord, I dedicate what is in my womb entirely to your service. So this is the mother of Maryam, the mother of Maryam. And she said, I'm pregnant. Ya Allah, when my son is born, he will serve in the temple in Jerusalem, and he will do ibadah, and he'll memorize the Torah, etc. Giving him to you, right? This is how we should be with our children. The children are not yours, they are come through you. Right? So the children are not yours. Many people, they want to control their children, right? But your children are an amana, they're not yours, right? And so what happens is they become very attached to them, and then if they don't listen to them, they get this, and etc., etc. And like, this is not your child. This is a child. You are just a conduit. You're just a thing that the child is coming through, right? And it's you have a responsibility to the child to raise them properly, etc. And so we give our children, say, oh Allah, I'm giving my children to you, oh Allah, right? That's what we do, right? I dedicate what is in my womb entirely to your service. So accept it from me. You alone are truly the all-hearing, the all-knowing. When she delivered, she said, and then what do we do with our children? Is we try and live our own life through our children, which is right and which is wrong. Okay. So if you're trying to live your own religious life through your children, that is right and it is wrong. It is right because you say, in my life, I messed up. I should have done this. I should have this. I want my kids to be religiously better than me. I want my kids to learn religious lessons before I learn them. And so I want them, for example, to be around better company. That's good. But they are not you. So I want my kid to memorize Quran. That is not the only way to worship Allah. You knew you could have memorized Quran and you didn't, and now you want to try and do that through your child. Maybe that's not for your child. The child is that's not hifz, that kind of person. Maybe your child is going to be a tree surgeon and go out into the woods in I don't know where and cut down trees and make sure the trees are good and look after, worship Allah in a totally different way. So making your child worship Allah and fear Allah, that is good. As for the specifics, you cannot force your child to be like you, right? And I don't mean to pick on people, but again, like Indo-Pak is classic, right? You have to be an engineer, you have to be a doctor because daddy wasn't an engineer or doctor. And then the kid doesn't want to become an engineer and doesn't want to become a doctor, but he's forced because his dad says this, his mom says this, and then he can't do it. Like he can't do it because that's just not me. My friend, for example, two friends. One friend was a doctor. At 35, he left medicine. He did the whole thing. He says, I cannot be a doctor. I never want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. So you cannot force your child to live your life because they are not you. They're a totally different person. Right? They're a totally different person. You can encourage them to fear Allah and learn the big pictures of life. These are things I learned late in life. You should fear Allah, you should change your company, you should do this, you should do that. Yes. But the specifics, they are not you. Right? They are not you. You, for example, thought you should have got married later or you should have got married earlier. So you tell them, this is a mistake that I did. Yeah, but they're different. Maybe they should get married early. Maybe they should get married late. Maybe they should go to college. Maybe they shouldn't go to college. Maybe they should go abroad. Maybe they shouldn't go abroad, right? Because they are not you, right? SubhanAllah, on TV you see these little yellow chicks, right? The little chicks, they all look the same, right? So I bought some yellow chicks once, right? They were 5 days old. So you think they probably come out of a factory. Like they don't look natural. because they all look the same. So then you're looking at this little chick who's 4 to 5 days old, and it's like it's all the same. And then I'm looking at it, this one scratches this way, this one scratches that way. Like, subhanAllah. Every single thing in nature is different. So your child is not you. I am not my dad is not his dad. Every single person is different. Right? So the big picture, turn to Allah, focus on Allah, prioritize Allah, yes. As for the details, you're a different person. So how exactly that child is going to worship Allah, let them worship Allah as they're going to worship Allah. You can't force them into this or force them into that. They think in very different ways, right? And so it's a big problem that we do that. It's like, you have to do this, 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 because that's not how it works, right? So you can, so you tell your child to dedicate themselves to Allah, but it could be through car racing. It could be through running a newspaper. It could be, I don't know what, it could be anything, right? So dedicating the child is one thing, and living your life through another thing. The other thing then is trying to live your life, your dunyawi life through them, which is totally wrong, okay? So I don't know, like that's just totally wrong, because you're trying to relive the money that you didn't get or relive the education you didn't get. And it's like, we're different people, right? So we live in a world where education is promoted because education leads to money. But education isn't education, number one. No, it doesn't actually educate people, number one. And number two, it doesn't necessarily make money. And number three, not everybody's designed for it, right? Not everybody's designed for it, right? So like I teach in school and you see this kid, like, why is this teenager can't sit still? Because he's not meant to sit down for 5 hours. He wasn't built to sit down for 5 hours. His grandfather was a shepherd. His great-grandfather was a shepherd. And suddenly you've taken this lion and said, sit still. And then he said, bad kid, you're not focused. Bad kid, you're making trouble in the bathroom. Like, because he's supposed to be farming. He's supposed to be hunting. He's moving to something else, right? So to looking at education, that modern education that has existed only for about 100 years is the way to live life. It is not true. It is not the only way to make money. It is not the only way to be. It is not an only measurement of what is good or bad, right? So getting good grades or bad grades, a lot of the grades, why do girls do better in school? Because boys are not supposed to sit still. They're supposed to, you survived, your genes survived because you worked hard on a farm. And now your son goes to school and he has the genes to work hard on a farm. And he's not supposed to be sitting down like that. And you're like, bad kid, you're not focused. Bad kid, you're causing trouble. Of course I'm going to cause trouble, right? I'm a boy, I'm not a girl, right? So a lot of these things are, we have to understand. We're trying to force people into boxes and they don't fit in that box. But dedicating them to Allah in general, yes. So when she delivered. So notice here, you're talking about a woman giving birth. Why are you talking about a woman giving birth? Because that's important. That's a very female thing. It's a very female difficulty. It's very private. And Allah is zooming in on that and saying, when she was going through these difficulties, how did she feel? What did she say? We're going to say the same thing with Sayyidat Maryam, the whole process, right? It's very important. And so when she delivered, she said, my Lord, I have given birth to a girl. So in her mind, she was pregnant with a boy. So she's saying, oh, this son of mine will be in the temple. And he says, I have given birth to a girl. And Allah fully knew what she had given birth to. And the male is not like the female. So here's a problem: equality and equivalence. So equality and equivalence. So are my sons and my daughter, are they equal in my eye? Yes. Are they equivalent? Habiba is Abdul Razak. Abdul Razak is Mikal. No. Right? So a male is not a female and a female is not a male, but they are equal in Allah's eyes, meaning they both have an equal opportunity to get close to Allah. If they have different rules pertaining to them, that's something else, because they are not the same, right? They are not the same. And so male and female, they're not the same. And again, on Sunday, I had a whole lecture, the nature of, we don't really talk in that much detail, but on Sunday we had a 2-hour class on marriage. And the first hour was genders and gender interaction, and what is a male and what is a female, etc. It's very important that we understand that they are not the same. The way that they function is not the same. And so, and therefore the relationship, right? So in a modern Western mindset, well, we should both be doing this and we should both be doing this. There's many things in the Western mentality of marriage which is right. Many Eastern men are lazy. right? Because they're coming from a world where men worked very, very, very hard. A man would go off and work for 20 hours, 3 days, etc. So he doesn't wake up for the baby because he's working outside all the time. He doesn't do this and doesn't do that. Now you come to California and husband and wife are both sitting on the desk in the same house, 9 to 5. She cooks and cleans. He doesn't do anything, right? And it's like, why? Why is she waking up 5 times and you're not waking up any times? That doesn't make any sense. So or they'll, or for example, you'll have, here's a question. I saw the other day, the Sheikh asked a question. He's like, do I have to serve my brother? Like, why would you have to serve your brother? Right. So you serve your husband, meaning he asks you to do something. So you serve your husband. But you don't serve, subhanAllah, once we had food here at the school and the women said, no, no, the men should eat first. Yeah, the men who are plowing in a field should work first, right? That makes sense. We're all working in a field. We all physically pulled these trees. We all went hunting for 10 days and we came back. So the women should say, no, let the men eat first. I understand. But we don't live like that anymore. So there's no reason to do that. There's no reason why the women should eat first or men should eat first, because I'm not your husband. You're not my wife, you know? So many women are misogynistic, right? You'll find that Arab women, Afghan women, they're like, oh, boys, 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 because in their mind, in the past, boys did things that women didn't do, but that's not really true, right? So so men and women are not the same, but we need to know what they are and how they interact. And it's very important to understand that. And so here, what is Allah saying? This is a feminist statement. She's saying, oh Allah, I'm going to serve you for something good, which is a male, but actually says, no, tricked you. You're going to serve me with something better, which is a female. The Prophet ﷺ, مَا كَانَ مُحَمَّدٌ أَبَا أَحَدٍ مِّن رِجَالِكُمْ, right? The Prophet ﷺ had no sons who lived, right? So where's his pride? Oh, I have sons. He doesn't have any sons. Doesn't have any sons, right? So Allah is intentionally showing this. That's the mentality that's wrong, right? So I have named her Maryam, and I seek your protection for her and her offspring from Satan, the accused. And this is again a sunnah that whenever a husband and wife are intimate, that they make this dua in their heart, Ya Allah, protect us from the shaitan and protect the shaitan from that which you provide us with, right? And so her Lord accepted her graciously and blessed her with a pleasant upbringing, entrusting her to the care of Zechariah. So Zechariah was, I think, the husband of her aunt. Whenever Zechariah visited her in her sanctuary, he found her supplied with provisions, i.e., miracles would happen. She goes there, she has food. Nobody delivered any food, or food that you wouldn't even find in that season anyway. He exclaimed, O Mary, or Maryam, where did this come from? She replied, it is from Allah Himself. Huwa min indillah. Huwa min Allah is from Allah. Everything's from Allah, but from Allah Himself, i.e., not the normal means of things. Surely Allah provides for whoever He wills without limit. So, i.e., even though I'm not a boy, and even though my mother had certain plans, it worked out in another way, right? And this is a key thing. We don't limit Allah's generosity to our plans. Oh Allah, please give me a Corvette because it will make me happy. So what did Imam Bakr recite this morning? وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَضْحَكَ وَأَبْكَى. He is the one alone who makes you happy and makes you sad. So you're saying, oh Allah, I'm limiting your qudra to my happiness only being in this car. That's not true. Your happiness is not necessarily in that car or in this person. Oh Allah, help me marry so-and-so. If someone's not married, Allah, I really want to marry so-and-so. Maybe that's ask for your good. Allah can put your good in anything, right? Your happiness is not limited to a place or to a person or particular means. It's with Allah, right? So Allah, give me everything, the khair of this dunya, and then, all right, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana means, oh Allah, give me, hasana is indefinite, meaning it's actually majhula, it's unknown. An unknown and unlimited and undescribable amount of good in this life and in the next life. Right? So stop trying to limit Allah, saying, oh Allah, I want a cure at this time. Or Allah, make this thing happen. Don't do that. Say, oh Allah, give me the best. Right? Maybe cancer will be the best thing that ever happened to you. Maybe a divorce will be the best thing that ever happened to you. Maybe the loss of your child will be the best thing that ever happened to you. So don't limit Allah to your own deficient mind. Allah give us the best thing possible. And when we make dua, we don't make dua because we want something. We make dua out of adab. So you have a headache. It is bad adab not to make dua. But you're not saying, oh Allah, take my headache away. What you're saying is, Ya Allah, I'm expressing my need to you. That's it. You want to take it away, take it away. Don't want to take it away, I don't mind. It's in your hands because it might be good for you to have a headache. Maybe you had a headache and you didn't go to the masjid and you didn't get a car crash. Maybe you're going to go to the masjid and you're going to be proud. Right? And you had this ghurur, oh, I'm special, I was in the masjid, etc. Right? Maybe Allah, I can't memorize the Quran. Maybe had you memorized the Quran, you were being proud. Right? So many things in life that we look back in life, that problem, that was the best thing that ever happened to you. This problem, that was the best thing that ever happened to you, right? Okay. And then it says, and then Zechariah prayed to his Lord. So who is Zechariah? This is now the one who is looking after Maryam, and this is now kind of like the sheikh of the Jews, and he's a prophet, and he sees everything is falling apart, right? Very much like now. Like imagine, for example, you're in Gaza now, and it's like, well, it stopped and it started again, and it's what's going to happen? We're just going to die? Is that what's going to happen? Like, subhanAllah, it's not a problem to die. And it's not a problem for the kuffar to watch the people in Gaza die. It's a problem for us to watch the people in Gaza die. It was like, ya lil aari, ya lil aar. What a disgrace that this should happen, right? What are you going to do on Judgment Day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I gave you an army and I gave you an economy that could have stopped that war. There was a sheikh in Saudi, he said that. He said, he's in Saudi and inshallah, he's in prison by now. But he said, our kingdom has the money and the military that could stop the war with a phone call. Right? Same thing with probably Turkey, same thing with many countries, right? With Sisi, with other people, right? Again, we're not judging individuals. Allah knows best what's happening. We're not going to say this person's good and this person's bad. We don't know. Again, we have a good inshallah opinion, but there's obviously a gross taqseer, a gross shortcoming on behalf of the ummah. So we shouldn't, so this is the situation. Things are falling apart totally, right? Things are falling apart totally. So he said, my Lord, and this is again happening internally in terms of the deen itself, right? So, my dad, he told me this. My dad said he saw this sheikh and nobody took his place. And he saw this sheikh, he saw Maulana Yusuf Banuri, Maulana Yusuf Banuri, huge sheikh from Pakistan, right? And he said, I remember him the last years of teaching. He's looking around and he's very angry or upset because there's nobody who's going to take his place, right? Nobody's going to take his place, right? When I was in Jordan, again in my short life, Sheikh Nuh Ali Salman, the former Mufti of Jordan, very special person, very, very special person. What was his PhD on? Giving people back their rights. That was his PhD. His PhD was how to give people back their rights and subtleties with this financial issue and this financial issue. How would you do it? And the debate, etc. That was his. So that's a PhD based on taqwa, how to give people their rights. Right? He had a lot of taqwa. He had two pens, a pen for himself, a pen that was the state's, two cars. He never drove the state's car. He never used the state's pen. Right? For his own use, this is my car. This is the car that's used for, I'm the Grand Mufti, and this thing. He was the ambassador to Iran. You can imagine how important that was. Ambassador to Iran. That means he's not somebody who's just sitting in a masjid. He's clever. Has wisdom. He knows how to do things, etc. And you listen to his fatwa. It's not just fiqh. It's like a whole person. He's a father. He's a grandfather. He's a politician. He's a mufti. He's everything. A lot of wisdom, right? The person who came after him is amazing, but not the same, right? So somebody dies that nobody took their place, right? Similarly, I wasn't alive when I don't know, I doubt I was alive maybe when, but Sheikh Shu'aib Arnaout. So in the last 100 years, in the Middle East, at least, there's been like the two biggest hadith scholars, Sheikh Albani and Sheikh Shu'aib Arnaout. So Sheikh Shu'aib Arnaout, he was both of them from Albania, by the way. Albani means from Albania, Arnaout means from Albania. So subhanallah, right? Because of whatever happened because of the Russian invasion, their parents probably went to Syria, from Syria to Jordan, and somehow, spread knowledge, right? You never know where the khair is. So anyway, Sheikh Shu'aib passed away when I was there. in Jordan. Nobody's taken his place. Inshallah, there will be somebody who took his place, right? Abdul Qadir Ra'ani. So there was a sheikh. I remember my Sheikh Faraz Khan. He's teaching now in Zaytuna, and Sheikh Suhail Hanif, who's in charge of now of Zakat, the Zakat Foundation in England, right? So they were both studying with this Sheikh Abdul Qadir Al-Ani. I remember, and I remember Sheikh Suhail telling me, he said, "We don't understand. Like we don't actually understand. We're just there out of adab. We're just out there. The Sheikh is talking, and we're sitting there in the class. Like, we're not even on his level to understand what he's talking about. So he's a very, very advanced scholar. Nobody took his place, right? And this happens again and again and again throughout the whole ummah. People die, nobody takes their place. People die, nobody takes their place. Sheikh Salik. He was here teaching, nobody took his place, right? So the airplane is crashing. This is what we're seeing. So Sayyidina Zakaria is at this point. He's like, Ya Allah, the airplane is crashing. The Jews are doing crazy things, right? They're doing all sorts of crazy things. Who else passed away? Other people as well. I'm trying to think. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things that we don't know and has plans that we don't have, and we have good opinion, but this is how things are happening, right? Things are slowly crashing. So it says, then and there Zechariah prayed to his Lord, saying, My Lord, grant me by your grace righteous offspring. So he's made dua. You are certainly the all-hearer of prayers. So the angels called out to him. So a key thing, if you have children and you don't want them to die in Gaza, then it means there's a wrong intention, right? If you have children, you don't want them to die as ulama. You don't like you want them to live. That's not the point. The point is you want them to do sujood. I want my children to do sujood. I want my child to have akhlaq. Like when you're like, oh, you know, the classic again, living in Jordan, nafrah fik, right? The phrase in Arabic world is like, I want to have a kid and I want to see him achieve in the dunya and have kids. Like I want to see he has a job and he has a house and he's married and he has kids. That's the joy of the Arab family. That's a wrong thing. Nafrah fik is, mashallah. What sound is that? My son crying in sujood. Allahu Akbar. Like what ni'mah is bigger than that? And he's disabled and he can never have kids. And he got rejected from school. It's okay. Like when your kids tell you, you know, the kids tell you things, you say, Daddy, it's the hadith like this. Subhanallah. My kid knows a hadith that I don't know, mashallah. Right? That's a ni'mah. Or you see they have good akhlaq. Mashallah, they have better akhlaq than their dad. Alhamdulillah. You know, I remember my dad telling me this. He looked at me and said, Fareed, if your kids are not better than you, you've messed up. Right? That's what we want. But better meaning what? In the dunya? No. Allah gives the dunya to people who he loves and the people he hates. That's not a standard. It's in the deen, right? You want your kids to be, I want my kids to be better than me. I want to have better akhlaq, more khushu' in prayer. They focus in prayer better. They have their priorities straight from a young age. This is what we want for our kids, right? So this is what he wants. But when you want your children to live, that's not how it should be. I want my children to die as righteous people, right? I want my children to die as righteous people. It doesn't matter what age. Obviously, it's hard, right? When a child dies, it's very hard. You know, they will see that, no parent should ever bury their child. It's very hard because it's just like, but if you have a niyyah, then it's not so hard because you've achieved it, right? Because you've achieved it. But if you have no niyyah, then nothing makes sense, right? What is a midlife crisis? Is I've been living life with no niyyah. And it doesn't make any sense. I either want to shoot myself or leave everything because nothing makes any sense, right? That's a midlife crisis, as opposed to a believer who has a niyyah and they wake up in the morning that what makes you function, they have a clear connection to Allah and it makes sense, then everything makes sense, not a problem, right? So the angels called out to him while he stood in prayer. So again, you're asking dua, connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Allah gives you good news of the birth of John, Yahya. So there's two English names for Yahya, Ian, which is a Scottish version, and John, which is a kind of English version, right? Ian and John are both Yohanna. So Yahya is not Arabic. It's an Arabic version of Yohanna. And Yohanna comes into English as John. That's why the H is there, right? Johannesburg, right? Joe, that's John, same name. Yohanna, and then Ian. These are both English versions of the Hebrew Yohanna, right? So the angels called out to him, saying, Allah gives you good news of the birth of John, who will confirm the word of Allah and be a great leader, chaste and a prophet among the righteous. So again, many of us, subhanAllah, or many Eastern cultures, we don't really care if our sons are chaste or not. That's not a priority. Let boys play, girls should stay home. Like if for many Eastern men or Eastern families, like if your daughter does something that embarrasses the family, that's a problem. If your son does something that embarrasses the family, yeah, he's a boy, what's he gonna do? Right? It's not a problem, right? And so he's chaste, right? He's somebody who has iffa, right? And he doesn't do things that are haram. And a prophet among the righteous. Zechariah exclaimed, "My Lord, how on earth can I have a son when I am very old and my wife is barren? My wife cannot have children anymore." Right? He replied, "So will it be. Allah does whatever He will." So again, trying to limit Allah. The only way this can happen is this. It's not like that. The only way the war in Gaza can stop is that Trump comes to an agreement with Putin and Trump, who run the world and run the heavens and the earth, can save the people in Gaza. Trump and Putin run the world. They do not run the world. Allah runs the world, right? It's not in this person's hand or that person's hand. It's not like that. So the only way, it's impossible. Obviously, I couldn't have a kid because I'm too old or my wife's too old. Obviously, something else is going to happen. No, Allah can make anything happen, right? I know a brother, for example, he said he had a very bad marriage. His marriage was very bad. He got married at 15, and as a 15-year-old boy, married to a 15-year-old woman, so a girl is a woman at 15, and you're still a boy. He embarrassed himself a lot. He did a lot of stupid things. So what did he say? He said, at 30, I had a new marriage. Totally knew that I'm married to the same person, but it's a totally new marriage. You're like, no, it's impossible. No, it's possible. You could be married to the same person, and their marriage is totally different on all levels. Because Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allah can do anything, right? So many people are like, no, it's not possible. It's not with this person in this circumstance. It's not possible. Everything's possible, right? So Zechariah said, "My Lord, grant me a sign." He said, "Your sign is that you will not be able to speak to people for 3 days." So notice, silence, prayer, turning to Allah. These are key things. I'tikaf, this is the time for silence, prayer, right? Remember your Lord often and glorify Him in the morning and the evening. And remember when the angel said, "O Mary." So now this is going back to Sayyidina Maryam. "Surely Allah has selected you, purified you, and chosen you over all women of the world." Right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, many men have reached perfection, meaning not prophets, but they have a kamal in them, in that their iman is kamil, right? And that they don't have vile things in their heart. They do have a pure heart, and they are overall sound. And the Prophet ﷺ said, but of women, it's only 4. So that again, that's misogynistic, isn't it? That means women are bad. No, you had a chance, you didn't achieve it. That's why. So this is descriptive, you're not being forced to be that way, right? Just like there have been more righteous Afghans than English people. Or did Allah discriminate against English people? No. Everybody had a chance, right? The Prophet ﷺ said for the Afghans and the Iranians, he said, if these people had to go to Pleiades, to the Thuraya, to get something, they go. They have a himmah, right? And that's why we see so many ulama from Iran and Afghanistan. So many ulama, so many righteous people. Forget ulama. Alim is one thing. Salih is something else. So many ulama, right? If you put Jalaluddin Rumi on one side and you put Shakespeare and who cares else, there's no comparison. No comparison. One person by themselves. The ulama of Balkh alone, the ulama and the salihin and awliya of Balkh alone versus the whole of the, I don't know what, right? Of Khurasan, right? In the Shafi school, we have the Iraqiyin and the Khurasaniyin. Thousands of scholars, they're called the Khurasaniyin. Whole madhab inside a madhab, right? We always talk about ma wara al-nahar, right? So many ulama, ma wara al-nahar. It's not really Afghanistan, it's more like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, right? But these are super scholars, super amazing people, right? Every single day, Al-Hidayah of Marghinani. He's from Farghana in, I don't know, I think in Turkey, I think in Turkmenistan. Yeah, right. Um, and so, but of the women, the Prophet said there have been four: Maryam, Asiya, and I can't remember the other two now. So Maryam, she's one of these awliya. These people are very. She's not a saint. She's not a prophet. Sorry, she's not a prophet. Majority of scholars say there's no such thing as female prophets. Some ulama say no, you could be a female prophet. So they say, what is the definition of a prophet? Somebody that Allah spoke to. Okay, did Allah speak to Maryam? Yes. Okay, therefore she's a prophet. Majority of scholars say no, right? You can't be a female prophet. But if she's not a female prophet, at least she's a siddiqa, right? Of the greatest of the awliya, right? And again, righteous women. I have a whole book up at home. Righteous women, snippets from righteous women. So many righteous women in the past, right? And so here, she's of these special people. So surely Allah has selected you, purified you, and chosen you over all other women of the whole world. O Mary, be devout to your Lord. Prostrate yourself in Allah and bow along with the males who bow. She's along with the men. So key principle, if you act like a man, you're a man. If you act like a woman, you're a woman. It's not about gender. Many people get caught up, oh, gender, gender, gender. Sister, act like a man. Be somebody of resolve and you'll be counted as a man. Brother, if you don't have resolve and you don't care and you act like a fool, you're a woman. Right? And many think, oh, like who's wearing the pants in this house? Like who's controlling? The fact that you think like that, it means you're a woman. Because the fact that, why does an animal attack you? Because it feels threatened. So if you feel threatened by your wife, you have a problem, right? So you have to act in a certain way because I feel threatened. That's a problem, right? As opposed to, I'm not threatened by you, sister. I'm not trying to prove anything to you. I'm just telling you we're not doing this. That's all. She's like, oh, da, 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 da. Like, okay, right? So being threatened or intimidated, this is a sign of femininity, right? This is what women do. Why are women rulers so dangerous? Because they're intimidated, right? Margaret Thatcher, I don't know how, Queen Boadicea, I don't know who else, right? These people they're like psychopaths because they are weak and they are scared. So then they have to become extremely aggressive. Okay, why is a mother bear so dangerous? Because she feels in danger. So she's going to kill everybody. Doesn't matter what happens, right? A chicken, take on it, etc. But as men, you say, I'm not scared of anything other than Allah. So you can't intimidate a man. And when a man becomes intimidated, he's acting like a woman. And that's not good for the man. It's not good for the woman. No woman wants to be married to a man that she intimidates. Right? No woman wants to be married to a man that she intimidates. She doesn't like that. She doesn't want to tell you husband what to do. Right? And when a relationship is like that, she wants to cooperate. She wants a cooperative husband, a husband that cares, a husband that listens, but she doesn't want a male doormat. Right? Nobody wants that. Right? Okay, this is news of the unseen that we reveal to you, O Prophet. You were not there with them when they cast lots to decide. So that when they choose who's going to look after Maryam, who would be Maryam's guardian, and you were not there when they argued about it. Remember when the angels proclaimed, O Mary, Allah gives you good news of a word, kalima, right? When you say Sayyidina Isa is the word of Allah, it means the effortless creation of Allah. Kun fayakun. It was just a word as opposed to a normal means, right? From Allah. His name will be the Masih. So Masih is from the word Masih, which is to wipe, right? He is the anointed one, the one who's you've put holy oil on him. Jesus, the son of Mary, right? Honored in this world and in the hereafter, and he will be one of those who are nearest to Allah. And he will speak to people in his infancy as a baby, and as in his adulthood, and he will be of the righteous. Mary wondered, my Lord, how can I have a child when no man has ever touched me? An angel replied, so it will be. Allah creates what he wills. When he decrees a matter, he simply tells it be, and it is. He just wills it, and that's all. So again, miracle with Sayyidina Zakaria, and a change for Bani Israel, and a chance for Bani Israel. The problem is, did Bani Israel accept John the Baptist? No, they killed him, cut his head off, and it's there. And you can, we don't know exactly, but there's a place called Mount Nebo in Jordan. You can go there, and that's where the head of Sayyidina Isa, of John the Baptist is. And he will teach him writing and wisdom and the Torah and the gospel and make him a messenger to the children of Israel. So Sayyidina Isa was sent to the children of Israel. I have come to you with a sign from your Lord. I will make for you a bird from clay. Breathe into it, and it will become a real bird. So I want to talk about something here which is a bit complex, but very important to understand. People often think that a karamat, miracles, are shirk or sihr, right? So Muhammad Shaman, for example, he said, SubhanAllah, last night I went to Mecca and I did Umrah and I came back. And I said, that's impossible. Say, why? Because you're not a prophet. Say, that's true, but it's a miracle. So any righteous Muslim could have a miracle. So he tells me, Wallahi al-Azim, this actually happened. I said, you were sleeping. He said, no, I was not sleeping. So I believe him because miracles do happen. Okay. Here's a question. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent me to another galaxy and I picked up one star and I made 10 stars out of it. So no, that's shirk because he made a star. He can't make stars. No, that's not true. That's called a miracle. So Sayyidina Isa does not have power. Allah, Sayyidina Isa was a locus, a place, a situation in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a miracle happen. There's a difference, right? So people, they don't understand these things and they're like, miracle means shirk, right? Oh, I went to the sheikh and this miracle happened. That's shirk. It's like, it's not shirk. Shirk is believing that there's two powers or three powers. There's one power. Sayyidina Isa does not have power. Sayyidina Isa is a place or a situation, an example where Allah used his power, right? And so people, they don't understand these things. So, they'll say certain things like, that's shirk or this shirk. It's like, okay, here's, so could Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create a creator? Like, could Allah create somebody and make that person create? It's called a man and a woman. We create children, don't we? But we don't create children in the way that Allah does. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one who Allah does it through us. So we don't have independent power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Or we don't have independent Allah, right? But rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes things through us. We are the means. So people make this, they don't understand the difference between something that is a means and something that is an actual cause. Right? So here, Sayyidina Isa, he says, I will make for you a bird out of clay and breathe life into it. So then a Christian will come along and say, look, even in the Bible, Jesus is God. Because look, he can breathe life. And I'm like, bro, that kind of thing can happen. That can happen. Any believer can do that. Right? This is something that can happen. It's called a miracle. It's not a miracle is very different to somebody actually creating. So as Imam al-Dardir, he says, ومن يقول بالقوة المودعة فذاك بدعي فلا تلتفتي. What he said, ومن يقول بالطبع أو بالعلة فذاك كفر عند أهل الملة ومن يقول بالقوة المودعة فذاك بدعي فلا تلتفتي. So Imam al-Dardir, he says, anybody who believes that things cause things by themselves, fire burns by itself, whether or not Allah chooses. When somebody says mass attracts mass, whether or not Allah chooses. فَذَاكَ كُفْرٌ عِنْدَ أَهْلِ الْمِلَّةِ. That's kufr. You're saying that there's Allah and then there's power. There's another power besides Allah. Wrong. وَمَنْ يَقُلْ بِالْقُوَّةِ الْبُودَعَةِ. Whoever says, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put power into certain things. He's invested it in certain things. Like the Mu'tazila, they said, Allah has given us the power. Like when I killed Muhammad Shaman, Allah gave me power to do it, and I took his life away, not Allah. Right? فَذَاكَ بِدْعِيٌّ فَلَا تَلْتَفِتْ. This person is not kufr, but it's a person of bid'ah. So we say no. Allah is mutafarrid bit-ta'thir. Allah is the only one who makes things happen. Allah created you and created your actions and put the two things together. Allah created an exothermic reaction and created an increase in heat and put the two things together. The rules of science are coincidences, not causes. The two things coincided. There's not a cause. So you have matter here, matter, they don't necessarily attract. Yeah, the cause is Allah. فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. He is the one who makes things happen. Everything else is just the location, the time, the situation when it happened, but not the cause. Right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Sayyidina Isa the location of life, not the cause of life. Otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, huwa al-muhyi wal-mumit. He's the one who actually gives life and actually gives death. Right? So people misunderstand these things. Right? So that's why when the Dajjal comes, the Dajjal will do this. The Dajjal will give life to people and give death to people. The Dajjal will say, "You don't think I'm God? Here, I just brought rain to a desert. I just changed the world. You have problem with the ozone layer? I just fixed it." So it'll be a huge fitna for people who don't have an aql and don't have iman, because he literally does things that you would imagine only God can do. But anybody can do that. So when a righteous person does something like that, that's called a miracle. When a fasiq does that, or a kafir does that, that's called istidraj. They're being sent further astray. So here is, for example, this Buddhist monk. He's like, "Oh, I can heal you," and the person's healed. You're like, "Oh my God, he must be true because a miracle happened." No, doesn't. So a miracle is one thing, istidraj is something else. And and so we have to understand, if you understand the context, it's easy to understand what's going on. So the Dajjal is obvious, like you're a human being. Of course you're not God, because you're talking like me and you. You need things like me and you. One day you're going to die. You need space, you need time, you need all these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need space or time. And I will heal the blind and the leper and raise the dead to life by Allah's will. Notice, by Allah's will. I'm not the cause. I'm just the conduit through me, right? And I will prophesize what you eat and store in your houses. Surely in this is a sign for if you truly believe. And I will confirm the Torah revealed before me and legalize some of what has been forbidden for you. So the Jews, they have a very clever and cynical, clever and sneaky concept in fiqh, which is naskh, abrogation. Changing the Sharia is impossible. Why is that clever? Because along comes Isa and he says, "I know the Torah, I've memorized the Torah, it says this, this is this, but this doesn't apply anymore and this does apply now." And they say, "Wrong. That's impossible. Allah could never change his Sharia." Why? Because they say, if Allah changed his Sharia, that means Allah didn't know something and then learned something new and changed it, right? Could Allah have an update? No. So you're trying to say that Allah doesn't know something, or Allah doesn't know what's for our good, right? And we say, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do whatever he wants. He can update and change the Sharia as he wishes. Okay, could Allah change facts? I've decided I'm actually two gods instead of one. Does that change from prophet to prophet? No. I've decided that kuffar do go to paradise now. Now they don't go to paradise. Now they do. Now they don't. It's not like that, right? There is an akhirah. There's no akhirah. So Allah says there is an akhirah and then there isn't an akhirah. That's impossible. That's now you kadhibu nafsahu. Now it's a contradiction. Whereas Mansur do this, Muhammad now do this. Two different people, two different times. That's fine. Allah can. That's called naskh. There's a big difference. So they have this mentality so that they can silence Prophet Isa and silence Prophet Muhammad. Oh, you change the Sharia, you're not a prophet. It's easy. Thank you. Goodbye. So we keep monopoly of revelation, because if you try and change it, we can label you as speaking a falsehood. Right? So they're clever shayateen. There's dumb shayateen and clever shayateen. Jews are clever shayateen. Right? Mu'tazila as well, clever shayateen. Right? And I have come to you, and they're the worst of people. Right? Like perennialists. They're very dangerous. Right? They come and tell you Islam is true, but Buddhism is also true, and Hinduism is also true. These people are shayateen. And they're much worse than somebody who's an atheist who says, "I hate all religion." Right? The Dajjal will be a righteous person. He's not going to be a bad person. So he's a clever shaitan, not a dumb shaitan. So it's going to be a huge fitna, because he will explain everyone's problems. Right? He'll know more Shafi fiqh than anybody else. He'll know more hadith than anybody else. He can explain the whole Buddhist tradition to anyone. And like, oh my God, he knows so much. And it puts it all together and it'll make so much sense. And then he'll solve people's problems, their marriage problems, their health problems. Everything will be great. And he'll just say, all I'm asking you to do is worship me. That's all. So he'll be a righteous person who will claim prophethood. And we're going to say, nope, there's no prophet after Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he's going to claim godhood. And it will be very convincing. And people, the Prophet ﷺ said, people will be tying their wives and daughters and aunts and nieces to their houses, because women will be flocking to him like nuts. Because women get scared and somebody has a solution, they're going to go to that person. So they're going to do. Right? Sister, you're 40, you're 50, your looks are going down the drain. If you go to this man, he will make you beautiful forever. You don't need makeup, you don't need anything. right? And he's so nice and he's so good, right? So the Prophet ﷺ said people will be literally tying their wives to tying the wives to something because they're going to run to them, right? Most of the people who follow them will be women and Jews, right? So he's going to Sahih Muslim that he will come with follow. I believe it's Sahih Muslim if I'm not correct. He will be followed by 70,000 of the Jews of Isfahan. Where's Isfahan? Iran, right? If you work in the Bay Area, you see lots of Jews from Iran, right? We were distributing Jewish or kosher Iranian food recently, by the way. Lavash bread, if you saw that. Yeah, this is a Jewish, so the Jews of Isfahan, not a joke. Right? Okay, try to find a good place to pause, inshallah. And I have come with a sign from your Lord, so be mindful of Allah, right? Have taqwa and obey me. Surely Allah is my Lord and your Lord, so worship Him alone. This is the straight path. And then we're going to go on to the next thing, which is the conspiracy against Jesus alayhi salam. Shall I stop there? Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Subhanallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta.